So Sentinel itself, let's go into the different phases here. We've got the 4 distinct phases that Sentinel employs during the operational of Sentinel. So the operational guidance from Sentinel, we follow these 4 continuously monitored phases. The collection phase is all about collecting data at cloud scale. We need to make sure that we can connect to all these different services. We can collect data from all these different endpoints that we've seen previously. If you're using Office 365, I need to collect data from Office 365. If I'm using on-premise Barracuda firewalls, guess what? I need them syslogs. I need that data from them firewalls into my tools so that I can make effective decisions, and I can start correlating, relationships between Office 365, my firewall, my devices, threat intelligence from Microsoft. I start bringing that all together. If I haven't got that data, then I don't know my firewall's been exposed. I don't know my Office 365 tenancy has a bad configuration of a policy. I don't know the stuff that I'm not collecting. So it's a really important part, and it's a foundation of how mature your Sentinel deployment is going to be and how effective it's ultimately going to be. Because if we're not collecting data, we can't see that as well. Once we've got that data in, we start building on it. We start building that detection phase. We start looking at things like queries. We start looking at things like workbooks that are layered on that will allow us to start detecting previously unknown or uncovered threats. Just the fact that my Windows machine isn't patched, fine, that's okay, but I need to know about that. So I need to detect that my machine isn't patched to the latest standard. It's got a key security vulnerability missing. Let's detect that on my machine. I'm collecting data from my machine. Let's detect that that's the case. That will become an event. It's an event that Sean's machine is unprotected. If a lot of that ties together, then we will create a security incident. But at the moment, it's an event that has happened in the background. Once we've detected things and we've created security incidents, or the system's generated security incidents for us, then we need to go into that investigation. We need to understand what's happened and how things have happened. We need to understand the extent of the potential threat, what it's affecting, how it's affecting. This is where the investigation phase comes in, and this is the bit that is very intimate within your organization, and being able to hunt and understand the component, the composition of your environment is a very important part of that. So we can use tools such as AI. It's a fantastic machine learning algorithms that will go in and understand this doesn't make sense with this, therefore let's start joining them up. And it's all about joining entities together. And you might hear the term entity mapping. Just because my machine is unpatched, that's one thing, but if I then download lots of information from a secured SharePoint site, I know my password has been compromised. I then know my machine, my ID, my Office 365 ID has been used by a Chinese IP address. All of these together is part of that investigation phase, so that we can start linking entities together. Say, okay, the source of the problem was my machine was unpatched, and I downloaded some malicious software onto my machine. It then exposed my machine to a Chinese hacker or something like that was able to download lots of sensitive data from a secure SharePoint site that's internal within our organization. So you can see how my machine not being patched has mapped to all these different entities, and it's allowed you to form an investigation and said, look, what we need to do is make sure that Sean's machine is patched and everyone's machine is patched. And then we've got different checkpoints for making sure that I've got a secure password policy, and I'm flagged if someone does download large amounts of data. That's an important thing that I need to be able to see. I want to ultimately be able to stop things like that, and that's where we get to the response phase, building remediation of these incidents rapidly with orchestration and automation to mitigate the threat to your organization. So obviously, from the point of a threat has been inserted into your organizations to the point that you've discovered that, to the point that you do something about it, that's the areas that you as a security professional need to mitigate against. You need to be able to make sure that you're quick to discover the fact that there's been a threat introduced to your environment, but more importantly, that threat has been mitigated as quickly as well. Because fine, Sean's machine was unpatched, but let's force Sean's machine to be patched straight away. Let's make sure that there's no misunderstanding here. If Sean's machine hasn't got this secure patch on here, he's not getting access to the resources. He's being shunned. He's been put out to a DMZ somewhere. He's in a quarantine zone or something like that, because I can't trust his machine, as a secured asset with data that we've got within our environment. So building that orchestration, building that automation of response is imperative to delivering a successful security operation practice and being able to mitigate your organization from these exposed threats that are there. We can't protect against everything. You'd be naive to believe that you can put that castle up. So what we can do with it is we can deal with it quicker and more efficiently using things like automation, orchestration, and matured AI-tuned and machine learning detection mechanisms as well. So, quick one on the architecture and the wider picture, and how Microsoft deals with that wide construct of partners and tooling that you've probably already got out there as well. So Microsoft uses this term MISA, which is the Microsoft Intelligence Security Association, which all organizations that deliver services are encouraged to join. This is an association that every partner has value to offer. It's not a Microsoft run incentive. It's an association of vendors within the industry that want to be able to provide best practice and protection from a cybersecurity perspective to their customers. So if you're a Zscaler customer, well, I want to make sure that my Zscaler deployment, I can connect that data. So the way that Microsoft break that down is that they've got the supported SDK, which is open to all vendors. They use this authentication layer to be able to make sure that your services can access through the different paths. They then use the Graph API. So you've probably heard about Graph services within the wider industry, but Microsoft leverages Graph as a security API to be able to form insights and relationships between different product vendors, their tools, how it's configured, how they generate logs, and the Sentinel framework and the security provider framework for the Microsoft service as well. So the MISA members are able to provide value in 5 key areas. It's within Microsoft owned products, so where you've got things like Office 365 or SharePoint or Azure Defender or Microsoft Defender, being able to develop that framework within Microsoft's own products is imperative for third parties to be able to allow Microsoft to set standards, but they can follow and enhance that. So it's a model that Microsoft use quite a lot. Things like identity and access management, being able to gather information from people that have a mature GUI deployment, for example. Lots of our customers use that for multi-factor authentication over Microsoft MFA. Ripping that out of their infrastructure is and swapping it over because it integrates easier is not really much of a business case. You've invested a lot of time and effort into GUI. It does what you need to be able to do. Maybe it does other things that Microsoft MFA can't do. So I'm not going to swap that product out. But what I do need is identity and access management logs and information from that product into my cybersecurity framework. And the way that we're going to do that is via that common Graph API, so that I don't have to build an SDK, or don't have to rely on GUI to build that SDK, because it's inherently part of that association as well. Information protection. So as you generate documentation, as you generate files and folders, AIP is one way of doing that, but you're also using things like Adobe or Sophos. There are other products out there that people use, so we need to be able to bring them logs in as well. Things like threat protection, what you're using out there, if you've got Palo Alto devices or Bitdefender devices, being able to understand them, and also from a more traditional security management perspective and firewalling component, things like Barracuda, Checkpoint, Fortinet. People have these devices out there. You need to be able to bring them in to that as well. The Graph API obviously allows people to translate common services into a language that the Sentinel platform will understand, and it makes that integration a lot easier along the way, so that you can surface configuration of devices, alerts, actions on that, and also profiles within that as well. So it's a really great mechanism that Microsoft have adopted to ensure that it's not that walled garden that traditionally Microsoft have been. Obviously that was the Microsoft evolved, but the new modern Microsoft is all about bringing people to the same playing field and leveraging the tools, so you can build upon that tool set as well. So it's not just a walled Microsoft garden, it's an open community where you can build value, ultimately delivering better value for you as a customer, regardless of which vendor that you provide.